All right, so Iron Man Boat 2.
Iron Man 2, DWR 39. Yeah, it's going to come out. And our talent then, we were good back then, but man, we were adolescents in our skill set of what we are today.
Dude, I can't wait to see it. So when are we going to see it?
Early summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll come out and it'll be
and this was a brand new Doug Wright?
It's a brand new DWR Doug Wright 39. Yeah, it's going to be a bad machine.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Take on the Lake. I'm Nathan Bechtold with Lake Expo. Thanks so much for joining us. In the studio today, we've got Justin Wagner. You may or may not know Justin Wagner, but you almost certainly know one of the multiple businesses that he either started or is involved in. So we're going to talk a lot about business and Justin and his life, what motivates him and what he's up to. So Justin, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a minute. I've been back and forth trying to schedule. You're a busy guy.
Yeah. I keep it rolling pretty good. So
that's good.
Thanks for your patience.
You say you just got back from the Miami Boat Show as we're recording this.
Yeah, last night about midnight, I walked in the door and crawled in bed with my pups and got some rest and got back at it this morning. So
nice. Well, yeah.
It's good to be home.
Yes. There's no place like it. How is Miami, by the way?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was a great show, and it was everything that we wanted and more. We set out with a goal of what we wanted to accomplish for Doug Wright Powerboats, and we exceeded that goal and had a great time doing it. So
nice. Yeah. So we'll get into Doug Wright a little bit in a minute, but I kind of want to start at the beginning.
Sure.
And get a little of the Justin Wagner story, because I know bits and pieces over the years. I've written a couple different articles about some of the stuff that you've done, but there's a lot I don't actually know. So, where are you actually originally from?
I was actually born in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I lived there till I was about 9. Had a lot of family in Iowa. I spent a lot of summers at Grandpa and Grandma's, and my grandparents had a cabin on the Mississippi River, and so that was kind of where I started. And then I moved to Missouri to Mark Twain Lake when I was 9 or 10, somewhere around that range. And so I seemed to always be around a body of water.
Okay.
Between fishing boats, and my grandpa had a little open bow boat that he'd take me and my cousins out on and things like that. I'd have some pretty fond memories going up and down the Mississippi and things like that.
Nice.
So, but that's where I'm originally from. Yeah.
All right. So your first lake was
first lake was Mark Twain Lake.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived in Perry, Missouri, about 600 people.
Okay.
A few antique stores and a whole bunch of small community. So that go to the same school, So I went to Votech and Hannibal, things like that.
Okay.
So
Votech and Hannibal. When and how did you land at Lake of the Ozarks then?
So I started out pretty young, being excited about the audio industry, and at that time it was cars. So I started out with doing automotive audio. I do wheels and tires, and occasionally some custom grills and ground effects, things like that. And I became to get a little reputation in the smaller communities there, from Hannibal to Perry, Vandalia, and Bowling Green. And I did a lot of little custom work there back in the day. Then I got into a competition scene, and did well. And a larger corporate company called Orion at the time seeked me out through some sales reps and gave me an opportunity at 19 to move to Phoenix, Arizona. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, especially that was they were one of my I was just a big fan of their product, right? So it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I packed up what I had, which wasn't much, and I flew out there, and I actually left the one vehicle I had here, and with the intention of getting it out there later, and that was another long story. But I moved out to Phoenix, and I lived out west for a while, working for that company.
Okay.
I did meet my wife the first day I was there, so that was kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
So, yeah.
Did you know she was your wife the first day you met her?
She was pretty awesome.
Going to be your wife?
She's pretty awesome, yeah. So
nice.
I would say we connected really, really fast.
Cool.
She was awesome.
Cool.
Still is.
When did y'all get married? What year?
2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
So, yeah.
I
was
24 years this year.
Well, that's married. Yeah. Yeah. We've been together
No,
since
23 years this year.
Yeah.
Wow, math.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all right. We've been together since right in 2000. So yeah.
Okay.
We're on our 26th year together. Yeah.
Nice.
Got married about 30. So you were right on. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
So Phoenix out west for a while.
Uh-huh.
And then what was the thing that drew you back? Or back here or brought you?
I think living in the Midwest my whole life and then being really hands-on. So the job that I did take in Phoenix was awesome. It educated me with, it took me to another level on the audio side of things between building equipment and learning the technical side of things. And they flew me from show to show and like trade show, I should say. And I learned a different aspect of dealing with accounts versus being an account,
Yeah.
And I learned a really strong technical side of things, but I really missed the hands-on and I missed the Midwest. And I asked Cicely if she would be interested in moving back. Little entry to the story. We ended up unexpectedly had a baby coming.
Okay.
So so I wasn't going to leave if she didn't want to leave, but she was very willing to go check it out. So we came down to Missouri. I spent a very little bit of time in Joplin. My parents happened to semi-retire here, and they were staying at a little condo over at Burgers Marina down the street in Lake Ozark. And so we went and visited them. And I had this book. I would carry it with me everywhere, and it had photos of all these different cars and different custom work I did. And their neighbor he was actually ended up being my best man at my wedding, the only person I had there. But
Nice.
It was kind of cool. But anyways, he's seen this book I had, this photo book, and he said, if you could do this in boats, you'd really have something.
Yeah.
And I looked at Cicely, and she was like, all right, well, let's try it. So the time we got here, we literally had, it was right around $300 left, so it wasn't, we were just young, broke kids.
Yeah.
I had a little CRX, some minimal tools.
Nice.
And it was me and my wife and a cat, and she was expecting. And Brian Pachinka over at Glen Cove and Ron Thompson gave me an opportunity to work over there, and Pat and Sue Lemons, which I'm sure if you're a local, you know all those names. And they were really cool with me. They gave me a great opportunity. And that's kind of where Waves and Wheels began. So I talked with Brian, and I made a deal with him that I would detail boats for them and work harder than anybody they had, I promised. And I said, but my only stipulation is if I got to interject with some of their clients, I could sell them a sound system, because that was my big goal. And then that I would give them 10%. And they agreed, and that's kind of how it started. And I got a really cool opportunity probably a month later with them, where I really was able to prove myself. And that's what really boosted our reputation. So
you at that point, were you doing it under the Waves and Wheels brand, or were you just kind of a boat detailer guy who could do this for you on the side?
I mean,
how were you
technically,
building
I was, as a 20-year-old kid that was a boat detailer guy, and but we came up with the idea of the brand, the name Waves and Wheels. Cicely came up with that, which was cool, because at that time, we did cars and boats, and as anybody knows now, we do 95% boats and about 5% special car projects, but that's about it. So that's where we started with that. I talked to a guy I knew from Quincy, Illinois. His name was Sean. He had a Astro van, a Chevy Astro van, and he let me make 4 payments at $250, and that was my first shop. So I went from Glen Cove to Port Arrowhead to Kelly's Port to Burgers to individual docks, and it was good. And that's kind of how I started it. Do
you remember the first gig you got?
Yeah. I blew a hole right in the side of the boat. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I misjudged the depth and
like when you were like, well,
I was
mounting.
I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but it's pretty fun. I don't have no shame in my game. That's how you learn,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I didn't go to college.
So tell me what happened. This is great.
Yeah. So I got to learn the hard way. So, but so at the end of the day, I was done with this sound system. It was a Mach 1, and it looked awesome. It was cool, and it was for Glen Cove guys. And I was mounting the last component, and I just misjudged the depth of of the freeboard, just a tick on the side and of the sidewall, and poked just a little dimple, and I just, I felt horrible, and I went down to the paint shop, and there was a gentleman there by the name of Tony Buchter, and I talked to Tony. He was just a couple years older than me, and I showed him what I did. And he's like, "I got you covered." And cool thing is Tony is my body shop manager now, and he's been with me for years, and he's a very close friend of mine, and he saved my butt that day.
Yeah.
So, but they were honestly, they were happy that I was, truthful, and I didn't try to hide it. So
just a little fiberglass repair.
Yeah, it was
a
little fire. Luckily, it wasn't too crazy custom. So that was kind of my hard
That's
knocks.
a great first.
Yeah, it's first boat I did right there.
That is the way it goes, man. It's like, and if you can survive that one, and not like be like, hey, I suck at this, I'm giving up. Then you like go on to the next one.
It wasn't the greatest feeling in the world, but I had to fess up and do it. So what was cool though is 2 or 3 years later, I was doing brand new, $1 million Sea Rays, and I was doing outer limits boats and fountains and MTIs and all the cool stuff. So everybody really trusted me.
How did those connections all happen over that period of time? Because you were doing good work for people that knew other people, or what was the?
Well, it kind of stems back to that first month at Glen Cove. So that first year we were there, I was a 20, 21-year-old kid. My wife's only a couple years younger than me, so we were kids, having kids, and starting a business. And then 9/11 hit too. So it was anyone that's a local here will tell you, Memorial to Labor Day back then that's the time you had to make your money for the year. I didn't do winterization, so there wasn't any off-season real business. So it was a super challenging year, but it really helped me develop who I was, and I still had good relationships in Phoenix, so we would go back to Phoenix for a couple months.
Okay.
But what kind of put me, like, it helped my reputation is Jonathan Gill was one of the mechanics there, and I'm stepping ahead a little bit. I'll step back. So Pat and Steve Lemons, they were boat salesmen and good members of the community, and they've God bless them, have passed on since then. But they gave me an opportunity with one of their customers, and one of their customers had a 400 SS Formula, and they wanted a Formula 400 SS, and there was it was a sweet boat. I worked outside. Formulas is where I learned to work on boats. Was on Formulas. So the shorter version is this client of Steve's came in, and he wanted this boat that they had. The only downside was a competitor of theirs had one, but it had a stereo in it. And so he said, "Hey, I'll buy this, but you got to throw in a stereo, and I want it this weekend." Well, this was a Wednesday, and I was always a hard worker. I was cool with that, and so Steve comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I want to get a stereo in there. They want it for this weekend." And I'm like, "Ooh." I said, "That's a 3-day. What you're asking for is a 3-day job, like." And it's Wednesday, and I still have to get parts. So, you know what? I'm wrong. That was a Thursday. Now that I think it wasn't Wednesday, it was Thursday. I totally remember it was a Thursday. So
a 3-day job, and you have a day and a half, basically.
Well, yeah. Now I wasn't like fresh in the morning. I can't tell you. It was too long ago to tell you what time it was. Yeah. But I know it was midday because they pulled me off a detailed job to come look at it. So I came over and looked at it. I said, "It's a 3-day job." And I said, "I'll do it." I don't think anybody was computing the math at the time but me. Mm-hmm. So I call all my friends that still work at the factory in Phoenix, and I had them next day air me all these parts, everything I needed.
Wow.
So I started tearing the boat apart. I come in Friday morning, bright and early. We get there. Jamie Depew was the service manager at the time. He let me in. I start working on the boat, tearing it down. By 10 o'clock, UPS shows up, and we're rocking and rolling. Well, 5 p.m. comes, and I'm a third of the way through the job, and they're like, "Okay." And I said, "Well, can you guys let me stay and work, in the shop?" And it's a Friday night, and they were a little hesitant at first, but I think they wanted to trust me. They just hadn't known me for more than a month of my of their time there, right? And I assured them everything would be fine. And I said, "Just let me finish the boat." I said, "Let me get on this. I want to keep going." So they left, and I called Cicely off the office phone there and told her what was up, and got working. And then the next morning rolled around 7, and Steve and Jamie and a couple other people walked in around 8 o'clock, actually it was, and they come in, and they were not happy that I was in their shop. And they were asking why and how I got in the shop and all this stuff. And I had a vacuum cleaner in my hand and I was vacuuming.
You'd been there all night.
And I let him kind of go on for a second. And I said, I haven't left. And he couldn't quite compute that I hadn't left. And I said, Steve, I told you it was a 3-day install and I started yesterday about 24 hours ago. And I just powered through and stayed up all night and I did it. And he kind of, you could see in his face, he felt a little bad, when he was riding me for being in the shop, and he realized I had never left. But then he went from that to he patted me on the back, and then he sent me up to Brian Pachinka's office, and Brian had a very unique voice, or has a very unique voice. And he's like, JB, he goes, you never have to give us 10% again, so
great story.
Yeah. So that was kind of my introduction of proving myself. Yeah. And I made them look like a rock star. The stereo rocked. The guy got the thing. I delivered on time, and I pulled a 24-hour deal, which back then I did. I'll still do it every once in a while, but at 40,
get to a place in your life
at 45 years old, I don't want to have to do it, but I'll do it if I need to. But anyways, it was good. And then what happened is Jonathan Gill was there, Steve and Pat and all the names of everyone that was Troy Ernst. They were all there at that time. Man, they unleashed me with all their top clients.
Oh, sweet.
And it just manifested from there. And
wow.
Don't get me wrong, the first 10 years of business was still Lake of the Ozarks. It was feast or famine, and it was very challenging. But
and then you had 08 challenges and 08 through 2010 challenges that affected, I think, the boat business. I don't know.
It did. I got creative with that. And so at that point, 08, 07, 08, 09, you got to, obviously owning a business, you got to learn to diversify and shift when you need to shift. So that's where, we started, and I guess it was 01 is when we actually started the business, right? So that was the year we moved here. I met Cicely in 2000, went here in 01. And then we worked our way up. I did a lot of sound systems and I did fabrications and lighting. Well, then when 07, 08 came around and things started to get really slim and I wasn't doing new boats anymore, which was probably 60% of our business at the time. So I started bringing in interior, and then we brought in interior, and then we brought in gauges and dashes, and we started kind of becoming more of a well-rounded business at that time.
Boat customization.
Correct.
Kind of
It's not just sound. So we actually made some really cool ads, and these ads were, fall in love with your boat again. And so I started making these ads, and so instead of someone back then, you could get a really nice boat for $300,000. Well, I would say, okay, well, how about you spend 10% of that with us, and we make your boat look brand new. And it worked great because not everybody was buying new boats,
right?
But most of our clients were at least financially stable enough where, they wanted the excitement of a
Keep
new
your
boat.
old boat and renew it and fall. Yeah,
and it worked really
brilliant.
good.
That's good marketing.
Yeah, and I had a couple. I'm not gonna say their names, but I had a couple boat salesmen that jokingly said that they couldn't stand what we were doing because it was killing their boat sales. So
of course.
They were joking. We were small. They were nudging me with it, but it was good and it kept us strong. And then I actually got a gig with around 2006 or 7. I got a gig with Nortec Powerboats. And I would fly down to Fort Myers for Trons and Nils and Terry Sobo, and I would do all their sound systems and a little bit electrical. They had a little electrical issue going on that I had figured out for them.
When you're doing that at that point, I mean, are you bringing a crew of guys with you? Is it just Justin?
It's just me. Yeah.
So, I mean, were you teaching other guys how to do what you do?
So I think by year 3, I had a friend. He's still a close friend of mine. His name's Matt Young. He would come down and he would help me when I needed help. That was from day one, the first couple bigger jobs I got. And he still pops his head in from time to time, And then I had, I think around 2003, I got my first shop, which was, it's right next to where, Half Sauce Barbecue is. There's a real little shop. Okay. I couldn't even fit a pickup in it. It was so small, but it was something, so it worked out good. I could fabricate in there and things like that. I had 2 employees, Rob Hoffmeyer and Josh Robinson at that time. And then, they kind of grew from there. And then, 2011, I started bringing on a little bit more of a crew, and Josh Rourke and my cousin Kelly Smith, and they joined me about that time. They're still with me today.
Okay.
You know, we have a very, very small turnover rate. I'm a really big believer that we're a team. You know, I don't really do the whole dictatorship or whatever you want to call it. You know, I don't get me wrong. I run my business and I establish ground rules, but
Sure.
I treat everybody really well, and they reciprocate that.
Nice.
So, but yeah, we kind of built up the staff. But back then, I was you know, putting in a lot of effort between traveling and flying back and forth and being a father and being a husband and trying to be a good community member too.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. So at that, let's see, it was around 2012, 13 when the Iron Man boat happened. You were getting into interiors and like doing all these boats. That was my first, I think, introduction to anything you had done. Was we did an article about it. I think I wrote it. Maybe I'm claiming somebody else's work.
No, you probably did.
For a Shootout Guide, I think, or something way back. Yeah.
I think it was 11 or 12, somewhere around there. I think I bought the boat in 10. Kind of rolled it.
What kind of boat was it?
It was a Talon, a 377 Talon.
Okay. Yep.
Cool boat. Great, handles great. I'd still, you know, for a guy that's looking for something in that budget, I'd still suggest it today if it had the right power and drives. The boat handled incredible. So, boat was a lot of fun. And
what was the vision for that? Were you like, I'm going to do a Avengers, an Iron Man boat, or were you just like, let's play around?
No, I've always been kind of a fan of Marvel and things like that. If you look closely at my arm and other, you know, and you figure out that I'm a fan of that kind of things. But anyways, I decided that Iron Man was the thing to do, and it was really cool because at that time we had been in quite a few publications, you know, especially, you know, like Powerboat magazine and all that jazz back then, and that kind of helped us build credibility. But Iron Man really put us on the map, you know. So
it's brilliant. Again, brilliant marketing move. Yeah, because it was cool. It wasn't like you had a couple Iron Man stickers on the thing or whatever.
No,
like,
it was.
I remember the detail that went into everything from the upholstery to like I don't know. You had some kind of pulsar lasers in the water that was kind of lit up the water around.
Yeah, it was
all
pretty
kinds
wild.
Of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was. We counted. We had over it was some crazy amount of thousands of LED lights throughout the thing, and it looked tasteful. You know, it didn't look, you know, gaudy by no means. So it actually, we molded in the Iron Man eyes into the fairing, and they'd light up at night. We put the arc reactor in each seat, and they lit up.
That's so
the motorized
sweet.
Pod raised up with the arc reactor on the chest plate. We molded the Iron Man mask in the dash. I mean, it was just
that boat was awesome.
It was cool.
It looked so
fun.
good. I remember thinking, man. I mean, it's one of a kind.
Yeah, it was cool. The biggest thing and I got to be reluctant on how much I talk about it because then it starts getting with me. But we started doing the Wish on a Ride with that boat, and that, man, seeing children's face, and you know, and I would play along with it and tell them I worked for Iron Man, and it was like super cool, you know. And we'd bring them Iron Man.
He let me borrow
toys.
his boat or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100%. We were like, Tony Stark's let us take it out, and they just you know what's cool is I'm still in contact with a lot of those kids to this day, you know. So,
and for folks who don't know, which everybody should, but the Wishing on a Ride is basically like through the Make-A-Wish, or there's multiple groups that do these, but at the Shootout every year, different powerboaters or just guys will help kids kind of get their dream or their wish fulfilled by going on a powerboat ride. Yeah. Great event.
Yeah, we've done some pretty cool things with families and things like that. So it was awesome.
So you sold Iron Man, right?
Sold Iron Man. That was years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
there is now, if you're following where we're at now with Doug Wright Powerboat, I waited for the right boat, and I had some really awesome clients that came down for their design day, and she was describing kind of a boat with like some, you know, panels and things like that, and I said, I got a boat I want to show you, and I showed her a photo of, her name's Judy, and I showed her a photo of Iron Man, and she's like, oh my gosh, I love that. And I kind of looked at her, and I looked at Josh, which Josh started, my shop manager. He's my GM. He's our GM now. He started when we were building that boat, and I looked at him and we were like, oh, maybe this is the one. And I looked at her, I said, would you consider doing an Ironman? And she's like, oh, that would be awesome. And like, we immediately like high-fived and
Sweet.
yeah, we were pumped, it was great.
All right, so
Iron
Iron Man boat 2.
Man 2,
The sequel.
DWR 39. Yeah, it's going to come out. And our talent then, we were good back then, but man, we were adolescents in our skill set of what we are today.
Dude, I can't wait to see it. So when are we going to see it?
Early summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll come out and it'll be
And this was a brand new Doug Wright?
a brand new DWR Doug Wright 39.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a bad machine.
Sweet,
So,
dude.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. That's a good segue into Doug Wright.
Yeah.
Because, before we do that, let's make one stop at the next kind of big business thing, which was the Boardwalk, right?
Yeah,
You
the
bought
Bluave and the Boardwalk.
Bluave and Boardwalk. Okay,
Yeah.
so Bluave is the line of audio stuff
Yeah.
that you kind of developed, right?
Yeah, so stemming back to my audio days in the '90s and working for Orion and then getting into the marine side of things, there was such a hole at the time for marine product. There was just, it's not like today. Today it's everybody has it, but I could see some parts, and there were parts that I basically was developing by hand. I was building them in my little shop and fabricating them, and then eventually I started tooling them and molding them, and we started a line called Waves and Wheels Solutions, and then it developed into the point where I was able to get it off the ground, and we started Bluave, which is, the name comes from my middle name's Blue, and Waves and Wheels, so Bluave.
Perfect.
So that's where the line came from, and we sell to we have several OEM accounts. We have several specialty dealers throughout the country. We obviously sell Bluave at Waves and Wheels, and you can go into any cove on the lake and you'll hear our product. It's incredible, and it's still growing. So, and I got a great team that runs that division still to this day, and we're rocking and rolling. Actually, we just recently signed up with the new owners of Playcraft, which is pretty exciting to see that brand kind of breathe some life again.
Oh, yeah.
So we're very excited to be partnered with them on the Bluave side of things.
So what does that mean? Does that mean every Playcraft has a Bluave?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. So
Cool.
we're gonna so it's gonna be set up with Bluave, and they'll come out with a great stereo. So.
What is there any trend in like among types of boats or types of boaters that like to get Bluave installed on their boat? I mean, is it like the wake surfing crowd? I know they love awesome audio.
Yeah, you'd think we would be in that market, but we're not yet. I'm not saying we won't. There is a company that's reached out to us that we're in the mix of talking about. They make a really high end wakeboard boat, and I can't say their name, but they're definitely intrigued in the brand. But a lot of power boats, yachts, cruisers. We've got everything from 200-foot yachts that are over in Dubai to here in Miami, and 60-foot Sea Rays, and a lot of power boats. And we have a unique following for that brand. But everything from pontoons to yachts, honestly. So
Wild.
Yep.
So Bluave and then Boardwalk. And Boardwalk, what was the background there? Because it was kind of it was a marina before that.
Yeah, it was I-44 Marina.
Okay. Yeah, that's sort of pre my knowing what was going on at the lake.
Yeah, so it was. I remember. Okay, so I bought my second house. We built it 2005. I think I bought the land, or 4, and then we built the house 2006 or 7. And I would take my daughters down the street down Pelican, and there was just this massive high rise that sat empty all the time. And I remember I literally have photos of me and my daughters and my wife fishing on the seawall there. And I would always look at it and was like, because I've always been a project guy, and looking at it, trying to wrap my mind around how cool it was, because if you're familiar with it, it looked like a giant erector set,
Yep.
And it was just a big empty high rise. There was never seen any action there. So then fast forward, some years later, I had a really nice shop on Highway 54 next to HMI Fireplace. We had a second shop, and it was great. And me and my wife were on our pontoon, kind of cruising down the lake one day, and I looked at that. And I've looked at that marina, who knows, 100 times in my life. I've been there probably 30 times, 40 times fishing. And I looked at Cicely and she looked at me and I knew she was thinking the same thing. And I said, should I call on it? She's like, I should. And timing was just right. Actually, he had unfortunately just, God bless their family, but Joe Lentz he had recently just passed away, but he was president of a bank, and he had it under that property under control. And long story short, we made a deal with them, and he kind of told me that he's doing the deal because he likes me and helped me out and gave me a pat on the back and a hand a hand up, and I made a deal with them, bought the marina, and it was awesome. I had a vision for it. Dave at Dock Realty, I got some really great docks from him, and we did the rehab and really brought that property and made it look sharp. I think our neighbors were really thrilled with everything we did because it was pretty run down when we got it. And the time we were done with it, it looked gorgeous, between the docks and paint and concrete and epoxy floors. And if anybody knows me, I'm kind of OCD, so I just keep things really, really clean. I have a maintenance guy that stayed on top of it twice a week, and it was, for the time, was a great facility for us.
Cool.
Yep.
And then you sold it.
Yeah, about 5 years later, I got a call from an investment group, and a really great guy, and he said, "Hey, I've got some people interested in this. Would you consider selling it?" And I said, "Well, my goal was to sell it when I was 55 to 65, and that's kind of where I'm at, right? So like if that's where we're at, then I'm interested. If not, it's not for sale." And that kind of got me intrigued. Another good client and friend of mine, and I had talked to him about it. He's done some really good developing around here, and I talked to him about it. And I've done cars and boats for him, and cool guy. And I said, yeah, we agreed with me. That's the right move to do. And so it wasn't as easy as I had hoped. It took about 2 years, and I did it off the radar, because I didn't want people to think we were selling the marina because we were, financially hurting. That wasn't the case at all. We were growing. We
had an opportunity.
The COVID was awesome for us with all the people coming here, and I just had an opportunity to grow. And so eventually the right group came along, DCL Properties. They bought it, and that was it. So we moved out 6 months later. I already had a factory in Camdenton, Missouri. That's a real great building out by the airport. So we're operating out of there now, and that's kind of a hold us off to our new location. So we'll be hopefully over there in 2 years. We're actually working on development there now as well.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then, then, right, the next business move was Doug Wright Powerboats, and that was actually you and I started talking about doing an interview after I got a press release from y'all about buying it. That was what was that last fall, right?
I acquired Doug Wright Powerboats basically on July 1st.
Oh, summer. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I had been affiliated with the company. So about it might be 4 years ago now. I've known Doug for a long time, and Doug had I had rumors that there was potentially an opportunity to pick up that line as a dealer or a builder / dealer, right? So Doug's thing was he would sell hulls and let anybody finish them out, and I talked to Doug, and he was really respectful to the past dealership that had them, and he said, "No, I've been doing business with them for a while, so I want to try to mend this." And I said, "No, totally respect that. I get that, and I commend you that." And then of course, about 30 days later, he called me and he goes, "It's not repairable." And there was that opportunity. So I stepped in and became their dealer. I became Doug Wright Powerboats dealer, and they sold me the boats raw, and I set out to make those boats at a level that they've never been and market that brand like it's never been branded before. Truly under the Doug Wright Powerboats name, which, if you don't know, they're exceptional. Doug's been building boats for 30 years. He started, a little side note about Doug, he started out doing surfboards. He's also designed aircraft, helicopters, the whole smash, and then he's just a total genius about hull design. doesn't do my side of things so much, but the whole design, he's just excellent. So became to growing, and they had some partners. And 3 years later, I kind of got the feeling that the partners maybe weren't all jiving so well. I have a great relationship with all of them, and I politely reached out to them and said, "Hey, if there's ever an opportunity that you could pass the torch to me." And last year at Lake Havasu, I was pulling in town, and I got an email from my attorney that all the partners agreed that they would pass the torch of Doug Wright Powerboats to me. So that was really exciting. And the same day I found out that I was going to be in the Hall of Fame. That was pretty wild, So it was a really
That's awesome. That's a good week.
Oh my God, it was hard. I was fighting tears, to be honest with you. I mean, I went from going, man, I'm starting in a minivan to now I'm getting ready to own one of the biggest names in powerboat racing history, and then to know that that I was, I don't know that I deserved it, but I've found out that I was going to be a Hall of Fame member from Tiffany and Mark Mawson and Leah Martin at the Lake Havasu Street Party all on the same day. So, and then fast forward to July 1st, I own the company, and Doug Jr. and Doug Sr. stayed on the team with me, and we have a great team. We have 11 guys down there, and we have 11 guys up here, and we get it done. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Really excited as a dream.
Now you're
come true.
repping Doug Wright. That's the brand.
we are Doug Wright. Yeah, for sure.
You are Doug Wright.
We are Doug Wright.
That's the brand. I mean,
that is the brand.
You're wearing it. You're in Miami.
Yeah,
repping Doug Wright and
all over. Yeah, and we're Waves and Wheels is still in full effect.
Right, right.
So just a lot of people are confused on that. So we kept a part of our staff. A part of our staff are technicians, and upholstery and sales. We have a dedicated staff for Waves and Wheels. So we still do plenty of upgrades to any brand of boat, from a pontoon to open bow to a cruiser to a powerboat, to a mega yacht. We do everything still from interior paint, gauges, electronics, design, great sound systems. And then we have a whole nother crew that specifically just focus 110% on Doug Wright Powerboats. And that's where my focus comes in. Right. That's where I'm at. Josh and our crew, they run the Waves and Wheels side of things and a little bit of everything actually. But we have just an amazing team. I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. On July 1st, luckily I had a few hulls lined up. I had pre-bought plenty of Doug Wright hulls, so I had enough to keep the supply chain rolling. But when I bought the factory, we had 0 boats on order, and as of yesterday, when I got home from the Miami Boat Show, we have 14 on order.
That's a good change.
That was, I think it's been 8 months, and our goal was to sell 8 the first year in 12 months, and we're 8 months in, and we're climbing to. Sweet. I think we're going to hit 15 boats this year. So, nice. And we're getting them out the factory every 4 to 5 weeks, and we cross every T, dot every I. We're very, very particular. If you look at our boats on our social media pages or website, I mean, they all have their own custom identity. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to get away from that. I don't want to get to the point.
I even noticed that too about Doug Wright over the years.
There's nothing. They're going to be very unique, and we're not trying to get where we're building 25, 30. That's not me. That's not what we do. I want to know, just like I've done everything else. If you come to buy a boat from me, you're going to deal with me from day one to the time I'm teaching you how to drive it. It's a very hands-on, personal experience, and that's what I enjoy, and I think that's what my clients have experienced, and they share that too. So
that's awesome. That's just an amazing, when you think about that journey, starting off as a kid at Mark Twain Lake, who's good at tinkering around with audio systems, and I think about guys who even high schoolers around Lake of the Ozarks, and I help with youth ministry at our church and different stuff. My oldest is about to be 15, and I think about guys that age and how they're kind of trying to figure out, what do I like? What am I good at? What should I do?
I remember those days.
Yeah. And I think that stories like yours are really good for them to hear, because it's like, man, you can do what you're good at. You can figure out what you're good at. You should probably be doing it. Or figuring it out and start doing it. And then, man, like take opportunities as they come and be the very best that everybody knows at doing that thing, right? I mean, it sounds again like you like went way above and beyond.
Oh, for sure.
At all those different moments. Again, the story of staying overnight to work on the
Yeah.
formula, right? Like I think it's good for especially young guys who kind of need some vision and direction to hear that kind of thing, that like you can do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't all mean that they're going to end up owning a powerboat company someday, but it means that you can
but that might
create a
not be their
path.
want or their path either, right? So, but you're 100% right. And the big thing is, you know, I've always had a passion for what I've done. I've been willing to work really hard. I've put myself through, you know, hell and high water to accomplish what we've gotten, and I'm okay with that. I've also done somehow or another figured out a balance to be a good father and a husband and friend, you know. But I encourage, man, if there's a younger generation, or not even just younger, but somebody my age or whatever, you can do it. It's just you got to be willing to do what you say you're going to do. You got to be passionate about what you want to get into, and be willing to work hard. And that's work hard, do what you say you're going to do, and you're passionate about your product, no matter if it's cutting grass, plumbing, building a rocket, or a powerboat. You know, whatever the case may be, you're going to be successful. It's if you have those fundamentals, it works. I didn't graduate in high school, you know, so I'm not ashamed of that. It doesn't matter. I went to Votech. I'm definitely I'm artistic person, and I'm definitely you can't tell me I can't do anything. So if I can get it done, anybody can get it done. So it's just how it goes. So it's just, anyways.
That's
and
a
I got
good
a
word.
great team. I have an incredible team. Like I cannot thank them enough. You know, so
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good. That's good
appreciate it.
motivation. What kind of things get you out of bed in the morning? You have 2 kids? Is that what you
I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're 24 and 20.
Okay. Yeah.
My you know, I have 4 dogs.
Okay.
I like my
They probably
my
get you out
dogs.
of bed, actually, literally.
Yeah, they're lazy in the mornings, but it's cool. So I'm a late nighter, so
Okay.
it's fun. You know, me and my wife, just from working late over the years, I'd come home, we'd eat late dinners, and we'd put on a movie. Heck, I'd turn a movie on at midnight, you know. So that's just kind of my thing. But
Yeah. What motivates you? Like, what are the things that drive you, or passions outside of? Do you have time for passions outside of?
no, I do.
outside of what you
I do. You know, I'm pretty simple. Believe it or not, I sometimes I'll come on Sunday mornings. My routine is have a coffee and I watch powerboat videos. So I know it sounds crazy because I do it for a living, but I love it. You know what I mean? And it's not. Don't get me wrong. It's not an easy industry to be successful in, but there's ways to do it. But I love it. I really do. So my passion is definitely powerboating outside of my career. I love traveling with my wife and my kids. I love doing things with them. I have some older cars that I like to tinker with. That's kind of some things I like. You know, I'm not very good at setting down, so I can set down for about a half day, and then I go stir crazy on a Sunday, and then I got to go fiddle with things. So,
Right.
But yeah, cars. I enjoy working out. Like that's a really really good peace of mind for me. I can put some music on and jam out and get a workout in and kind of go from there. And luckily I enjoy what I do. So it doesn't like, I'm good at balancing charging my batteries, which is a big thing. I tell people all the time, you can't burn yourself out. You know, I get close, but you gotta charge on batteries. But yeah, I really enjoy spending time with my kids. I love having dinner with my wife and my family. That's kind of my main thing. You know, I make sure that every week, like even my daughters are grown, I still make sure that we have family time and we sit down at dinner. I mean, if you see me out and about, it's not uncommon on a Saturday night. You'll see me out with my daughters and not my friends. So that's just an important thing to me, you know. So
yeah, as it should be. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's next? What do you see in the future for Justin Wagner? I mean, it could be for Doug Wright. I think I see where you're going with that. But
Yeah.
what's on the horizon? Do you?
Well, you know, again, I'm not good at setting still, and I really love projects, you know. So you know, right now my 2 main focuses career wise is Doug Wright Powerboats. Excuse me. I really want to continue to build our efficiency, our product, and just continue to be on that trajectory that we're on now is is continuing to climb with that company. And again, that's not to turn around and be a 30 to 50 boat a year company. That's not where we're a custom boat builder. I just know there's more to come. There's new models, and on the race side, from the IHRA side to pleasure boating side, I'm going to work hard, and I don't take this lightly, but my goal is to be known as the best custom boat builder in the world for power boats, again, I don't take that lightly, and I'm going to work hard to prove that with that brand. So there's that on that side. Development wise, I usually do this kind of under the radar. This one was not under the radar just because of a zoning and all the things that we needed to do. But we have Native Ridge going on right now. We're moving dirt, and we plan on having, I'd say 50%. We'll have about 50% completion by midsummer.
Okay, so talk a little about what that is.
Sure. So when I sold the Boardwalk, I acquired some land over right between Port of Sema and the villages on the 18-mile marker. We just actually grabbed up another 15 acres, so we have a total of 60 acres there around the back of that cove. Beautiful cove. It's going to stay that way. If anybody knows, I'm not trying to build a big, high traffic type of facility. So what we're doing is the phase one is called Native Ridge. It's got 11 luxury lockers, which each locker has a mezzanine and a condo option in it as well. So you can have living quarters. It's really nice. It's really beautiful. It is not your typical RV park. It's not something that, kids are going to come in with a pop-up camper, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what this is. This is a motor coach resort. So each site has a lake view. Each site has its own hot tub, outdoor kitchen. It's very, very nice, very high end, paved concrete, like the whole smash. Like it's really, really nice. Private pool, pickleball. It's a community and a resort more than anything. So we have that. There's 37 sites, motor coach sites, and 11 lockers. So it's a smaller one. It's not your.
What's a locker?
It's like storage unit in a way, but I'm going to call it a.
I see.
It's like a place you can put your power boat, but it's not a storage unit, so to speak. It has finished walls and beautiful.
I got it.
Lighting, epoxy floor, heat and air, condo built in, lake view. It's kind of the whole smash, but it's a smaller scale. It's more like what we do is more of a quality over quantity setup. So we're working on that now. We've actually, I don't count anything, and I don't count my eggs before they hatch, but we have several investment groups that know me from other properties that I've done that are potential. We may have the thing sold here in the next 60 days, so which would be great. And then we still have, that's only utilizing 7.5 out of the 60 acres. So we have room for phase 2, 3, 4. And the part that I'm most excited about is that's where the new home is going to be for Doug Wright Powerboats and Waves and Wheels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
But we're really pumped. We have a beautiful dock down there. Everything's going to have, if you've been to Branson and you've been to Big Cedar, I absolutely love the vibe and the feel of Big Cedar. The trees, the nature, the wildlife. That's the feel of the whole property, I want to keep it that way. I love our community. I love the Ozarks. It's not going to be a concrete jungle by no means.
That's why people love being here, right?
Because
it's beautiful.
My neighbors were a little worried at first, and I think they've settled down and realized to get to know me a little bit that that's not me, you know. So, and what started that was a twofold thing, right? So, one, again, our new location's going to be there. It's going to be gorgeous. That's where we'll be doing all the boat assembly and building and sales. We did get approved for a boat dock. A boat ramp. So we'll have our own ramp there, 2 docks. We made a lot of progress on it last year. So there's that. And then my wife and I, I guess I could have you asked me about hobbies. I love traveling the country in our motor coach.
Okay.
So that's super fun. It's kind of cool too because I can time them around poker runs. So we can travel the country and I can end up at a poker run. My wife and I and our dogs will end up at the poker run with our motor coach. And we've stayed at these absolutely stunning motor coach parks throughout the country. Gotcha. And we're like, this would be cool if the lake had something like this.
Okay. So that was the
That's
inspiration.
that was kind of the inspiration, and I enjoyed it. And it's
okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the scoop. So that's what we're going on with now. So
interesting. All right, and this is a question. This will be the last one that I'd like to ask.
Ask me as many as you want.
Don't tempt me. We could be here all day. Coffee, you're going to run out. This episode, by the way, brought to you by Scooter's Coffee. I'm just kidding. We got the Scooter's cup.
I was really tired when I came in here. I got in town last night at 1 a.m. and the Scooters has woke me up.
Yes,
I'm pumped now.
Nice. Okay, so the question I like to hear from different people, especially people that are plugged into the lake, understand the lake's culture, like business culture, understand the unique aspects of the lake's economy, namely that it's just kind of a weird economy, right? It's built around visitors, but you also have this core of residents that matter immensely too. But when you look around, when you talk to people, and when you think about the lake, like what are some of the problems that you see, and what makes you optimistic about the future? I just sort of like sprang that question on you.
No, it's fine.
But what are some things that you see like, man, the lake needs this thing, and then what are things that make you go, we're going to be all right, or I think this is going to happen and that's going to be great?
I really try to just be a positive person and realize, sometimes when things sometimes when things seem negative, if you really look at them, there's almost a positive side to everything.
Well, yeah, there's just opportunities, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I can't say anything negative. I love our community. I tell people all the time, I've been blessed with being able to travel all over the world, and there's not one vacation that I've been on that the day that I come home that I'm like, dang, I gotta get home. I can't wait to get home. I love it here. I love our community. I love to see, for the people that haven't been here as long as myself, and there's a lot of people who've been here a lot longer. This wasn't the easiest community to live in when you moved here. It was feast or famine. It was very difficult. I had this conversation in my zoning hearing for our property. The opportunities that are here now were not here 25, 26 years ago. You had very limited. You pretty much were real estate, or you worked at a restaurant. And I mean, when I moved here, I cleaned gyms at Health South, which was a weight gym that was here at night. I did that at night. I did the detailing for Glen Cove. I poured concrete on a Saturday, and then when the winter came, once that stuff dried up and it was gone. It wasn't easy. So for me to see that we have opportunities and career opportunities, and we have growth here, what do I think that the community needs? I think we need a big athletic center. I think we need a revamp of the mall. I think we need some new resorts and some fun activities. I think we need a Top Golf or something along like that. And it seems like the lake's got those all checked. So to me, the lake's doing the right thing. I encourage the growth here. I think people are great. Of course, there's always, it's like anything else. There's things that happen and with when you have more people, but it's going to happen in a thriving community. But I feel like our local police departments and management of the and our commissioners and all of that jazz, I think they do a great job of keeping everything under control. It's a beautiful community, the whole way around the lake, and I love it here. And I really, really am an advocate for Lake of the Ozarks. You can ask any of my friends that live on the other part of the country. There's probably not a month goes by that I don't try to encourage them to move here.
Nice. Okay, so that actually makes me ask a bonus question. Okay,
Sure.
So make the pitch for, like we were talking about earlier, maybe the high school guy, right? Not everybody's going to stick around here, but some are going to go off to university somewhere, do whatever. But make the pitch for why you ought to stick around, because this is something I've been thinking about a lot. There's been this trend, I don't know how long it's been, for decades now, where you leave the place you're from, and maybe you go through a university or something, and you land generally in some sort of urban place, and then you migrate out to suburbia, and that's the end until you retire somewhere else. I think about that as my kids get older, and I'm like, man, they're free to do what the Lord leads them to do, right? Like they're free to go where they should go. But I think that it's important to be able to go, here are some reasons maybe you want to stick around your community. Yeah. So you think about that. I mean, you don't live where you grew up, but you're here and you believe in the lake. So when I think about people that live here, why should somebody stick around here?
Well, I'm going to use my kids for example.
Okay.
I moved around quite a bit, Now I've been settled, like I said, I've been here for 26-ish years, something around that range. And I was never around my family. I wanted nothing more but to live around my family, and I was never blessed with that. And now I have 2 daughters, and I have a grandson coming too, which I'm pretty
nice.
excited.
Congrats.
Yeah, I'm like super pumped about that. My oldest daughter is expecting in June. So, but to answer your question, there's so much growth here, and I think I feel like our town is such a great balance of growth and stability, and you still have that Midwestern small town feel, just from everything from people that I know that we're familiar with, from going into our favorite restaurants to churches to stores, just all the above, and there's a lot of opportunity here, and a guy like myself that again, I'm not trying to make a sad story by no means. I moved here with nothing, and my education is I got to be around a lot of successful people at Lake of the Ozarks, and some of them were second homeowners, some of them kept their boat down at a marina and they stayed on their boat, or and some of them live here full time. So I've been very blessed to I'm going to revert back to a statement, birds of a feather flock together, show me 5 of your friends and I'll show you your future. Well, if you utilize that kind of outlook and you see the kind of people that are at the lake, I'm not saying everybody's perfect, because they're not, but there's a lot of great people here you can learn from and observe. And sometimes you can observe what not to do too with people, right? So I think the community is great. I think that it's growing. I think it's a stable community, and there's a lot of great people here that you can learn from and set your goals and accomplish them. And I truly feel that little old Lake of the Ozarks has the formula for the American dream, and that's pretty much it. So
That's great. That's good. We'll leave off with that, man.
Cool.
That was good. That's a good final word.
All right.
Thanks for coming on the show and
it was
humoring
fun.
me here a little bit, sharing your story and talking about problems and solutions and everything else. That's really, I learned a ton. I think people will enjoy hearing that. So
cool.
Appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate being on here. It was fun.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Well, listen.
I think this is my first podcast.
Oh, yeah?
So, done a lot of interviews. I don't think I've done a podcast before.
Good.
So.
Well, maybe, I don't think it'll be your last. And if everybody will just, go share this episode. And if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed hearing about Justin's story, go buy a Doug Wright Powerboat.
Yeah,
why
we'll
not?
take that.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
You buy a T-shirt. I'll be happy with that
buy a
too. You
T-shirt.
can go on our website, DougWrightPowerboats.com. Buy a T-shirt or a boat, whatever you want.
That's right. But man, such a cool journey, and hopefully it's inspirational to some people too. I think it will be.
I'm always happy. I'm always around too. If somebody feels they, I don't. I'm happy to talk to people too. I'm not saying I'm the greatest guy in the world, but I'm more than happy to encourage anyone. And I've tried to. I think I've tried to encourage a lot of people to make a move. If it's working. Not everybody wants to be a business owner either. That's not what I'm getting at. Like, if it's a jump to a new career, or sticking with a career, or starting a business, or maybe just challenges in life in general. I've honestly, I think I've been through it about all, and maybe there's a round 2. We could tell you more stuff some other day, but I'm more than happy to reach out and help anybody in our community. It's a beautiful place, and I feel very blessed to be here. So
it's great. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in to Take on the Lake. Again, make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff so you keep getting these great interviews that we're doing. Not that I'm that great of an interviewer, but I just get a hold of really cool people to bring into the studio. Again, please share this with folks. And I'm going to give another shout out actually to Lake Expo advertisers. I was thinking about that today because those are the folks that actually help fund literally the happening of this podcast. So if you see those folks at lakeexpo.com, make sure you do business with those folks too. Appreciate the many people that support Lake Expo. Thanks again for listeners, for everybody that supports the show. And that's our episode of Take on the Lake. Stay anchored, stay curious, and we'll see you soon.